you a Friday video, or a Friday or a Monday. Depends when it goes out, really. Depends when I get time to edit it. I am currently working on this beast of a job, which is... oh, excuse me. I am currently working on this beast of a project at the moment, which is the Ducati Monster carbon fibre overhaul to it. I am currently sculpting this out of clay, and it's obviously taking a while because these things take time. I think all in all, the tank itself, the tank alone is probably going to take about 40 hours just sculpting the clay and perfecting it and getting the lines super sharp, which means that it's not quite finished yet in time for this week's video. And rather than keeping you waiting, I have had this video on my list of videos to put out there for 2020. It was supposed to be at the end of 2019, but I didn't get much chance to do that. But this is my top 5 coffee racers built in 2019. It's so cold in here. Why is it so cold? I don't know if you can see that. There's steam coming out of my breath. Let me put the radiator on. So my top 5 built bikes of 2019. Now a lot of you have seen these bikes elsewhere, obviously because they are really good bikes. And kind of my taste ever changes every year. Kind of every year a new build comes out and it takes bike building into a completely different direction. And I really like the whole experimental side of building, especially now with the development of 3D printing, and there's a lot of CNC work going on there. And as good as it is, seeing that whole modern approach to bikes, there's something quite nice about the old-fashioned grabbing a hammer and a piece of aluminium and just shaping it to your need. So hopefully my list should show a bit of everything. No particular order, here is my top 5 bikes of 2019. So first of all, I want to introduce you to this 130 horsepower nitrous fueled Indian Scout bobber called Appaloosa. I saw it back in the bike shed in 2019 and it was insane. The amount of detail gone to it, the amount of hours put into this bike. This bike is built by Workhorse Speedshop over in Belgium. 700 hours I believe on shaping that front fairing alone. And it's taken inspiration of a mix of 1920s trains, 1940s, Formula 1 cars and all sorts of different aeroplanes. And it's quite easy to see how that aeroplane inspiration has come over to this massive big cone nose at the front here. This bike was commissioned and raced in the Sultans of Sprint race as a factory bike, but what I really like about it is the whole ballsy approach to it. Like a massive fairing on the front of a bobber with the whole colour scheme put together. I think all in all this bike is absolutely stunning, and to have this in your workshop as soon as you open the door, that would be an absolute dream to have something remotely similar to this, and that's why it's in my top 5. Second on the list is Zeema's 10.5 speed triple Triumph. I went over to see this bike last year. You may have seen a video of it. I first saw this bike again at the Bike Shed show, and the more Chris over at Zeema started talking about the bike and started talking about the technology and everything that's crammed into this bike, the more I fell in love with it. It is angular, to say the least, and it probably splits opinion, and that is a good thing. Anything that gets people talking is a good build, apart from a bad build, obviously. Kind of goes to say for itself. But the more you walk around the bike, the more you see how the intake comes in and cools the oil radiator and comes back out the back. And you've got that perspex lid on the tank where you can see all the velocity stacks inside and everything. And as I said, cram-packed with technology. You've got the whole motor gadget, M-Unit Blue, reading off data from the ECU, then transmits that to an app on the phone, so you don't need a display up at the front. It is one ballsy bike and has to be in my top 5. Number 3 on the list is The Killer by Craig Rodsmith. And those of you who don't know who Craig Rodsmith is, Google him. His work, and in fact his colourful language is probably quite entertaining in itself, but his work is second to none. It's seriously enviable what he can produce with a hammer and a plate of aluminium. But this bike encapsulates the beauty of what he does in a neatly formed package. The engine itself is a front-wheeled radial engine, compact in that front wheel. Again, have a look at all these pictures online. The workings of this engine is amazing. It's beautiful. This bike was given inspiration by a few Art Deco photos of some German engineers over in 1930 of a bike called the Killinger und Friend. I hope I've said that right. My German's probably not that good up to speed. The painstaking detail in this bike and the whole traditional method of hand beating all these panels and getting that swooping shape and getting that bike looking like one beautifully sculpted piece in those whole flowing lines and everything, and it looks retro yet very modern at the same time. This bike is an absolute favourite of mine. Number 4 on the list is Revival Cycles' BMW Boxer Birdcage. Obviously heavily features that BMW Boxer engine, which in itself is a work of art. Revival Cycles decided to build this titanium, what could be described as a birdcage, around the engine, a hidden fuel tank, and just letting that exoskeleton work in itself is absolutely stunning. The painstaking hours into getting that right, obviously developing it from sketches and actually taking the time to build it all, this bike is absolutely enviable. If you can, if it's on display anywhere, go and see it. It looks so light and delicate and fragile, but with that titanium frame, it just looks beautiful. And last on the list, but probably my all-time favourite 2019, is kind of cheating its way into 2019 really, because I did see it in 2018 at the Bike Shed show, and it is Death Machine of London's Kenzo. I've not tried to hide at all my love for this bike. I absolutely fell in love with it back in 2018 when I saw it at the Bike Shed, and it was in black then. And I think one of the reasons why I did fall in love with it so much back then is because it kind of opened my eyes to the possibility of what could be done. This is a Honda Goldwing. If you know what Goldwing looks like, they are probably one of the ugliest bikes there are. I think they are anyway. Filled with technology and plastic and basically massive cruisers that look like sofa on wheels. And to come up with something as beautiful as the Kenzo, a mix of 3D printing, CNCing, everything that Death Machines of London do well. The more you sit and study this bike, the more you start seeing how much work and effort has gone into this bike. Even down to the whole grille ventilation system that's actually on top of the tank, in between each layer. But as I said, to show what's possible out of a really ugly bike, it was at that moment when I saw the bike at the Bike Shed show that I decided that I was going to try and push myself even further and kind of stray away from that classic cafe racer building and try some more experimental work myself, which is of course where the inspiration for this Ducati came from, of trying to create something that isn't easy in a way. I'm not sure where this bike is at the moment. I last saw it over at the Bike Shed before Christmas. It was on display in one of the arches there. If it is still there, then make your way down to see it. It is worth it. So that is my top 5 list. I'm going to go back to sculpting this now with my spatula and heat gun and everything. So until next week, if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and also you can buy some merch down there. Until next week, I'll see you then.